Hey everybody, and welcome back to Split Couch Games. I'm Scott, and this is a video that will dive pretty deep into the ending of Gears of War 4. If you don't want spoilers, you should probably leave the video before the intro ends, because I'll be spoiling the shit out of everything in the game. To start off, I want to show the ending of the game. I only have the ending from the Let's Play Ben and I did, so have a little bit of shameless self-promotion as well.
It was my grandmother's.
Who's the grandmother?
I never knew her.
Oh.
It's beautiful. Oh, shit.
Oh!
Oh, shit. And that's the end.
If you're watching this video, you probably understand why Ben and I freaked out so much when Kait flipped over the necklace. But in case you don't, here's a quick rundown of what it means. The design hidden on the back is actually the symbol of the Locust, you know, the bad guys from the first 3 games. And as Kait said, the necklace belonged to her grandmother. There's only one human female that we know of who is a part of the Locust Horde, and that's Queen Mira. So Kait is most likely a descendant of Queen Mira, and that's a pretty big deal for the history and characters of Gears of War. But it raises even more questions than it answers. And first on my list is the grandfather. That's right, some guy was able to frag Mira's emergence hole, it's a euphemism for sex, and begin a family. But who was the lucky fellow? Before I answer that though, there's an entire forum thread dedicated to the origins of the Locust, the Lambent, and Queen Mira. It pieces together a lot of information and is widely considered the most accurate theory on, well, basically everything having to do with those topics. There's way too much to do it justice in this one video, so it's linked in the description for your reading pleasure. For this video, there are 2 things you need to know though. The first is that it's basically proven that Mira was a scientist, or at least a descendant of the scientists from the New Hope research facility. If that name doesn't sound familiar, New Hope is the creepy abandoned laboratory from Gears 2, and it's likely that Mira and her fellow New Hope staff were able to find a way to better the transformation of the sires that we saw there, and created true Locusts as what we saw throughout the original trilogy. So, who is Kait's grandfather? Most people online have jumped to Adam Fenix, and on the surface, that makes a lot of sense. After all, he's really the only human we know who ever met the Queen face to face, but if you start looking at timelines and ages, it falls apart pretty quickly. Reyna, Kait's mother and daughter of Queen Mira, died in year 14 AE, AE stands for after Emergence Day. Adam Fenix only met Mira about 5 years before Emergence Day, so the oldest Reyna could be at the time of her death was 47. And while there's no exact date of birth given for Reyna, we're led to believe that she's of a similar age to Marcus, who is 63 at the time Gears 4 takes place. Most notably, JD mentions when passing through Fort Revel that my dad, Reyna, Oscar, and even Jin all went through hell together. This pretty much confirms that all of those characters, Reyna included, were old enough to fight in the Locust War, or at the very least, be old enough to experience it and remember it with such vivid memories. Not likely that they were too young. There's also a collectible found in the Outsider Town in Act 1 Chapter 4 that is a book that Kait's father wrote on the maintenance of King Ravens. It was quote, written well before Kait was born, but since it's an actual put together book, we can also piece together that it was written before the war with the Locust started. Not a lot of resources would have been put into making actual books once the Locust started destroying everything, and so this means that Reyna's husband was born several years before Emergence Day, way more than just the 5 years before Emergence Day that we talked about before. Chances are that Reyna is at least somewhat close to his age as well, and was born well outside of the time Adam Fenix could be the father. And if you don't believe my timelines, take it from what Adam Fenix has to say on the subject, which is, well, nothing actually. In the Gears of War novels, particularly in the Slab, the reader spends a lot of time inside Adam's head. He spends a lot of time alone just thinking to himself. And he laments on his poor parenting, he struggles with the guilt of causing so many deaths by creating the Hammer of Dawn, he regrets not telling the Cog about the Locust before they attacked. But nowhere is it even so much as hinted at that he had physical relations with Mira. With such an introspective personality, he would at least have a fleeting thought about it somewhere in there, right? So if it's not Adam Fenix, then who could it be? Well, remember that forum post I mentioned? Queen Mira spent a good portion of her life at the New Hope Research Facility. And who else was there? Niles Sampson. That's right. I'm claiming that the guy who the creepy AI was based off of had sex with Queen Mira. And even more than that, I think they were actually in love. Not a lot is actually known about the New Hope facility. We know that some experiments were done, some sires were created, and then everyone just up and left to go live up in Mount Gadar. We really only have the names of 5 people confirmed to be there. Niles, Ruth, Doug Sato, Stephanie Zimmer, and some random dude named Sven. Ruth was a test subject that was exhibiting signs of becoming a locust with rabbit hair loss, fast-growing nails, scaly skin, etc. Dr. Sato and Zimmer pieced the fuck out after Sven was attacked by the sires, or even the first locust, and Sven is probably dead after the aforementioned attack. So that leaves us with Niles. Now I know what you're thinking, Scott, there's got to be hundreds of other people in her life she could have fallen in love with and made baby Raina. And you're not wrong, but we don't know anything about them, we don't even have any names, we have zero information about anyone else in her life. And Niles and Mira actually do have a couple of things in common outside of just sharing a physical space. First of all, they both refer to the Locust as children. Mira doing this makes sense because she's the leader of the Locust and all of that, but what about Niles? A collectible from the New Hope Research Facility is the final journal entry for Stephanie Zimmer, and she writes, "These things, these children, as Niles likes to call them, are completely out of control." He called the sires and/or locusts that frequently enough and seemingly ignored the brutal and sadistic nature of his creations, something really only a parent or someone who feels like a parent would really do. So if you take that very literally, they both feel that they are the parents of these creations, and that mutual feeling that they likely bonded over while working together could easily lead to an office romance. Secondly, Mira and Niles both feel that the locusts are the future of the planet Sarah. Niles' research, in his own words, was done to, quote, bridge the genetic gap to our future. Everything he did was to protect humanity and allow them to survive. Mira cares much less for humanity than Niles does, but still refers to the locusts as the dominant species. While that might just be an overzealous leader boosting the morale of her troops, those words could be read as her saying that the locusts were created to inherit the planet from the weaker humans, to survive where humanity could not. Now I know what you're asking. Where's the romance? Well, like I said, so little is known, and because of that I'm not going to drone on and on about this, but I want to give a little bit of an idea where baby Raina could have came from. Pretty much nothing from this point on has any concrete facts and requires huge assumptions. The research at New Hope ended when Chairman Monroe of the COG ordered them to move to Mount Gadar. From there, the locusts were born and they created their underground civilization. It's at this point where I believe Mira's hatred for humanity grew. Her children being forced to live underground while the humans destroyed themselves and the planet in a war over the very emulsion that was evolving to kill them. She didn't have any room for pity in her heart and knew that one day she would unleash her horde and destroy the weaker species. And I think she would have done so sooner if not for the wishes of Niles. Niles still loved humans. He was very much a human himself and wanted to save them. And he felt pity for them, something that Mira couldn't do. So he either begged Mira not to attack or perhaps was even in charge at that point and decided against attacking. But Niles was quite a bit older than Mira, having been alive to see the early years of the Pendulum Wars. So eventually, he died. And Mira, not wanting to go against her late love's wishes, asked Adam Fenix to help. However, Adam failed and Mira couldn't wait any longer and attacked. But not before she gave birth to a human child and Niles' daughter, Raina. Let me know your thoughts on this theory in the comments below. Feel free to mock me if I missed something, or if you have another theory on who Raina's father is, let me know. I know there wasn't a whole lot of factual information in this video, but in a topic with so few facts to begin with, I did what I could. I put a lot of work into this video, so if you enjoyed this, please give it a like. I really enjoyed making it, but if nobody enjoyed watching it, there's not much reason to make more. If you have any criticism at all, I would love to hear it. If there are any theories or general lore questions that you have, feel free to ask in the comments. And of course, subscribe for more content like this in the future. And with that, I hope to see you next time on Split Couch Games.